Right, so Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Human Biology quiz, midterm revision. Today we'll just be revising for you guys blood and endocrine. So we'll start by blood. So my name is Malak Abudoreg, and I'll be revising the blood chapter with you guys. It's going to be primarily question-based. It's very interactive. You'll have to scan QR codes to put in your responses, and inshallah, you guys just try to answer as much as possible. Even if you get it wrong, it's fine. That's the purpose of this meeting today. So I guess, yeah, let's begin. Okay. So yalla, buckle up, we'll begin. So blood chapter first. I'll present the first question, you guys read it. I'll give you like a minute or two to read it, and then we can answer it together. Then you will see the multiple choices. So I'll read it out loud. So a 55-year-old male presents to the emergency department with fatigue, pallor, shortness of breath, and exertion. Laboratory investigations reveal a hematocrit of 28%, significantly lower than the normal range. A blood sample is drawn and centrifuged, showing a reduced reddish mass at the bottom of the tube. The buffy coat appears normal, and the plasma volume is relatively increased. Okay, before we move on to the options, what is the normal hematocrit level in this case scenario? You guys can open your mic to answer, or you can just write it in the chat. Okay, so we have answers saying 45. Right, perfect. Alhamdulillah. So the majority is doing well min هاي الناحية. So it varies again from females to males, right? So who has the higher hematocrit level, females or males? Do you guys know the reason behind that? Well, you guys did not study it yet. If you had to guess. Okay, yes, exactly. Hafsa said sex hormone. Exactly, perfect, mashallah. All right, so now that we've just put that aside, let's move on to the multiple choices and see what the answer might be. The QR code now is going to show, just scan it and put in your response. Just a moment. Yellow. And after everyone scans the QR code, I'll go back to the question, don't worry, okay? Okay, did everyone scan? Okay, I think we are around how many? We are 26, so I'm gonna wait again a bit. Or I should just screenshot it. Put it in the chat box so we can go back to the question. For those who didn't scan, I put the QR code in the chat box so I can go back to the question. Okay. Let's see. All right, so I think we're having. Okay, let's just wait one more moment and see. Okay, so we'll stop here so we can move on to the next question. So you guys are going between aplastic anemia and chronic kidney disease. So the majority is saying aplastic anemia. Okay, is this your final answer, guys? Are you sure of this answer? Let's reveal the answer then and see who is right and who is not. Okay, so the majority, okay, let's close the poll for now. The majority put aplastic anemia, but the right answer is chronic kidney disease. Does anyone who put chronic kidney disease want to give it an attempt and explain it to the others why that's the answer? You can open your mic or in the chat box. I prefer mic, but whatever you guys are. Okay. Abdullah, you can go ahead.
Okay, it mentioned in the question that the buffy coat is normal, so it did not affect the white blood cells and platelets. And in aplastic anemia, the red bone marrow is destroyed, so it affects the platelets and white blood cells count. So it can't be that, and the only one is chronic kidney disease.
Okay, perfect. So round of applause. You answered it like the model answer, mashallah. So exactly. I'm gonna go to the explanation quickly. And as you guys can see here, this is from the book about what it says about aplastic anemia. So in the case of aplastic anemia, the bone marrow, like your colleague said, it's damaged. And we know the bone marrow is the one responsible for our red blood cells, for our platelets, for our white blood cells. So if it's damaged, that means the production of all of them is going to be affected. But in the question, it said the buffy coat is normal, but the red mass is the one that's affected. Does that mean that if it's anemia or aplastic anemia, they would say that the buffy coat is affected or is decreased or maybe abnormal, and also the red mass? So that's why aplastic anemia is wrong. Same thing affects also the acute leukemia. Same thing is similar to acute leukemia. The white blood cells are affected. So that's your third choice. So in the case of leukemia, the white blood cells are affected, and the white blood cells are part of the buffy coat. So, and again, in the question, they said the buffy coat is normal. So again, we eliminate this choice. And again, the last one is the DIC, or disseminated the disease that happens primarily in pregnant women. Same thing, the platelets are affected in this case scenario. And again, they said that the buffy coat is normal. So we eliminate that the platelets are affected, and we focus on our last choice, our last correct choice, which is chronic kidney disease. And here's a tiny like mind map for you to, if you guys want to just collect your thoughts. Does that make sense? Does anyone have any questions regarding this? Raise your hands if you have any questions. If all is good, let's move on to the next question. Was everyone understood why it's not B and it's A, right? Yeah, okay. All right, let's go on to the next question. Again, I'll read it out loud. You guys can read it at your own pace, and then we can move on to the choices. Or to the choices here. Here, there isn't the QR code, just for save time. But when I tell you guys to write down the choice in the chat, go ahead, all right? So a 45-year-old male presents with widespread non-blanching pinpoint red spots on his lower extremities. Laboratory tests reveal a low blood cell count. The patient reports recent exposure to certain medications and a history of radiation therapy. Transfusion provides temporary relief for the condition. Which of the following best explains the mechanism behind these findings? Let's give you guys a moment, okay? Okay, you guys can start putting down your answers in the chat if you like, if you already have an answer. شوف مين أول واحد puts the right answer. Okay. Someone says C. Does anyone have any other answers? Okay, we have a B or D. B, okay. So I'm seeing mostly people are saying B. So now let's find out the answer together, or unless anyone has any other answers. Okay. So mostly B. Let's find out if that's the right answer. So most are saying a deficiency of clotting factors. Are you guys sure? Does anyone want to change their answer before we move on? Okay, we have another C. But still B is winning. Okay, another C. So now it's a tie. Let's see which team won, the C or the B team. The answer is C. Does anyone from the people who chose C want to explain why? Or should I explain it? If you'd like to explain, just raise your hand or just immediately open your mic. Okay, before we go on to the explanation, Tayyib, who wants to say what disease are we talking about in this case, according to what the patient is presenting with? What is this sign? The widespread, non-blanching, pinpoint red spots. Exactly. Okay, perfect. So we have Ibrahim who said petechia and thrombocytopenia. Perfect. So this is thrombocytopenia. And in the book, it said that thrombocytopenia can arise from any condition that suppresses or destroys the red bone marrow. And in this case scenario, this patient had exposure to medications and history of radiation therapy. So their bone marrow might have been affected. And again, the treatment plan is mentioned here. That's what's the treatment plan for thrombocytopenia? It's transfusion, which provides only temporary relief in comparison to other treatment plans. That's why it's an ability to form a primary homeostatic plug, which is formed by what's the primary homeostatic plug formed by? Yes, exactly, platelets. So in the case of thrombocytopenia, we have a deficiency in platelets. Therefore, the primary homeostatic plug would be unable to form. Therefore, that is the right answer. So you have your colleague, Jana, I think. Correct me if it's the wrong pronunciation. Explained it perfectly for you guys. If you want to go ahead and read it. Is it clear before we move on to the next question? If you have any questions, don't hesitate. This is the purpose of the session today. Okay? So yeah, again, here is the, when I later on put the PowerPoint for you guys can see the explanation at your own pace. Thrombocytopenia, keyword, thrombocytopenia. Decrease in platelet level, petechia, meaning there like any wear and tear, any tiny damages or any tiny injuries to any part of the body can cause a bleeding or a tear to these capillaries. And because they have a deficiency in the platelet number, the platelets won't be able to clot or heal that tear in the capillaries or the blood vessels. All right, so let's move on to the next question. Okay, we have someone who's raising their hands. Go ahead.
Can you explain why B would be wrong?
Let's see. Deficiency of clotting factors. Clotting factors, does it have to do with cells or factors like, for example, the ones that we studied, the calcium, the I didn't memorize all of the clotting factors, but here the primary problem, again, this is the clinical feature. So clinical feature is petechia, and it is an indication usually. So if they give you a clinical feature that's clearly indicates a certain disease, you kind of try to rule out everything else. But in this case scenario, we have there isn't any problem that would lead maybe to a deficiency in a certain clotting factor. And usually if there is a deficiency in a clotting factor, it's not all together. It's a specific one depending on a certain disease. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, you also have another colleague who answered your question. Okay. Yes, exactly. So most clotting factors are produced in the liver, and I don't see that the patient here has any problem with their liver or any liver function or any liver function tests that were performed to lead you to believe that there might be a problem with the clotting factors. Thank you so much. Let's move on to the next question. Okay. So here we have, I think maybe you guys love solving this riddle, but we have a blood typing that happened. I want you guys to guess what's the patient's blood type when I tell you guys to write it down, or you guys can race to see who's the first one to gets it right. Okay. So the majority is saying AB minus. Someone's saying AB positive. Okay, let's see the answer. So I put this answer, tried to trick you guys, but mashallah, all of you, the majority got AB negative. So the trick is not going to work, but it is AB negative. I'm going to change it before I send it to you guys anyways. So it is AB negative, and I'll tell you why. So first of all, we have the antibodies that were put on that drop of blood right here. And as you can see, there is a sign of agglutination. What does a sign of agglutination indicate? Does the patient have or does not have the A antigen? Exactly. So that means it will agglutinate. Same thing for the other part. There is a drop of blood. The blue antibody is put on, and there is signs of agglutination. Does that mean that they have or they do not have the B antigen? It means that you have it. And lastly, we have the RH factor. There is no signs of agglutination. Does that mean that they have or they do not have the RH factor? Absent, exactly. That's why it is a B negative for the RH factor. Does that make sense? Is anyone still having difficulty like figuring this part out? Okay. If you have any problem with this, just raise your hands. I'll help you. I'll guide you through it. Inshallah. All right. Let's go on to the next question. Same thing, there's going to be a QR code. I'm going to read it out, and then you can answer it at your own pace. So a 60-year-old male with chronic kidney disease presents with worsening fatigue and pallor. Lab results shows normocytic anemia with a low reticulocyte count, despite adequate iron stores. Which of the following best explains his anemia? Okay, give you a moment to read it. Okay. If you guys are done, I'll move on to the choices. So scan the QR code and let's see if some of your colleagues already mentioned some of their guesses, which are very good, mashallah. So let's see if there are any choices that reflect the same guess. Okay. So I think, guys, I'd recommend that you do this again in your exams and to try to read the question without reading the choices. Try to answer the question without like being influenced by the choices. It helps you find the right answer quicker, like your friends did before I displayed the multiple choice options. They tried to guess or try to answer the question from their knowledge. It makes finding the right choice much easier, so you're not spending so much time on the question. Okay, so I think the majority is saying reduced erythropoietin production, failing to stimulate committed erythroid precursors. Okay, should we move on, or still someone wants to answer? If you still want to answer, just raise your hand so we can wait for you. Okay, let's just move on and see which one. Who did the majority get the right answer or not? Okay, so is the right answer C or B? Let's find out. The next slide. Okay, it's lagging. Let's see. Yeah, so the answer is C. And I want another one of you guys to try and explain it. Someone who hasn't already, or anyone, it's fine. If you want to do it with your mics open, commands better so your friends understand it better. So why is the answer C? It's already mentioned. I already mentioned it in the explanation, but does the explanation make sense? So basically, the choice itself highlighted that it is. That's why you should read the choices to the end. So it highlighted that the reduced erythropoietin production failing to stimulate committed, and it was a very tiny part in your book that mentioned that the erythropoietin influences what kind, the non-committed or the committed. It mentioned in the book that it stimulates primarily the committed, exactly. So they have to be committed for erythropoietin to stimulate them for whatever function. So the problem with the first choice, although at the beginning it sounds correct, all is good, it says that failing to stimulate all bone marrow cells, which is false because erythropoietin influences red blood cells primarily, and specifically the ones that are committed. Does that make sense? If you have any problems, raise your hand. I can explain it to you. Okay. So I think everyone, the majority got it right. So that's good news, alhamdulillah. Let's move on to the next question. Okay, I'll read it out. Same thing. A 62-year-old male with a history of uncontrolled hypertension presents with sudden onset, left-sided weakness, and slurred speech. On examination, he is conscious but has right facial droop and left-sided hemiparesis. Which of the following is the most appropriate next step in management? Well, I'm not sure if you guys took this clinical sign or if you've seen it in movies and know what this facial droop, left side hemiparesis, what this indicates. Does anyone want to help their colleagues if you already know what is this a sign for? Exactly, stroke. So if you guys didn't take it, they're probably going to mention it if they're ever going to get a question like this. So the patient is having a stroke or has had a stroke. So according to that, try to pick the right option. So are we going to administer heparin? Are we going to administer TPA? Are we going to administer aspirin? Are we giving them an antiplatelet therapy? Or are we giving them mannitol, whatever that is? So we have majority Bs. Okay. So first of all, before we move on to the right answer, whenever we have something in the choices that you've not studied, and this is what our doctor told us at the time, Dr. Jibran, you immediately eliminate it. They're not expecting you to know things that you have not studied or was never mentioned in the book. So option E, nothing, just eliminate immediately. Don't even give it a second thought. Mannitol, we never studied it, nothing to do with it. We're left with A, B, C, and D. And the majority is saying, I guess they're saying B. And I brought this question actually because I know one of you guys told me about your first quiz, and they mentioned a tiny, tiny detail in the book that none of you guys paid attention to it. And it said in the book that TPA, or tissue plasminogen activator, is used for treating clots. That's why the answer is B. So we're administering TPA. Yes, we give them TPA to Jenna, are you asking or are you reinforcing the points? Yes, so in this case scenario, strokes are caused by clots that cause the blood supply not to reach certain parts of the brain, so they have a stroke. And yeah, exactly. Good job. Sorry, I misunderstood. So yes, that's why we're giving them tissue plasminogen activator to dissolve that clot. And there might be any better options to dissolve the stroke, the clot of that caused the stroke. But in this case scenario, we're choosing from the choices. So the only right choice that's used in the case of strokes is the TPA. Aspirin is used for something entirely different. I'm pretty sure you guys already memorized from your book. And same thing for heparin. Heparin is used for before surgeries, I believe, for certain case scenarios. And we have also warfarin, but it's not mentioned in the choices, so we're not going to consider warfarin at all. So what about C? So heparin, can someone bring up what they said about heparin in the book? Something about heart surgeries, right? They give it before heart surgeries as a protective. Yes. So usually, if that's what they mentioned in the book, they're gonna bring it for if they want the answer to be heparin, they're gonna mention for the thing they meant for the use that's mentioned in the book, or if the doctor mentioned any other uses. But specifically to dissolve clots, we're thinking TPA. Does that make sense, or are you guys still confused why it shouldn't be B? Okay. Someone with a username L. Does it make sense? A C says aspirin. Same thing for aspirin. It's not used for dissolving clots. I think aspirin, specifically as a specific doses. It's given for as a protective again mechanism against the formation of clots, but not used to dissolve already like present clots. Does that make sense? So like the patient already has a clot that caused the stroke, already has a clot. So aspirin is given. Is it given to dissolve clots or to prevent clots? That's the question. So aspirin is given to prevent heart attacks, prevent clots that could cause a heart attack. But in this case scenario, TPA is given to dissolve the already present clots. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Okay, so this is a matching question. I know you guys have matching questions in your exam. I'm not sure if this detail was required from you. It was in the table. So if it wasn't required from you, we can just skip this question and move on to the next ones. Was it required from you to know which factor specifically causes specific types of hemophilia? So I only know the number. Okay. Okay, خلاص. Then let's just skip this. I think I يمكن اجتهدت زيادة عن اللزوم at the time. All right, so again, this is a crowd's favorite, I believe, the RH, the ROGAM injection. Let's see who gets it right. Let's forget the QR code. Just answer in the chat. أحسن, I feel. Okay. Okay, we have one of your colleagues who answered the previous matching question. So yeah, it's a good thing to know for your personal knowledge. But yeah, 8 is A. Yeah. So okay, finally, this is the first question that I think the majority agreed on an answer together. So we're saying that the child's red blood cells will remain intact as no maternal antibodies will target them. Good job, guys. Does anyone have any difficulties why it is C and not anything else? I think most of you guys agreed on this answer. If you haven't understood, raise your hand. We can go back to it. Okay, I think everyone is okay with it. Let's move on to the next question. Some athletes abuse recombinant erythropoietin to enhance performance, increasing their hematocrit to dangerous levels. What is the most concerning consequences? See who's the first one to answer. Okay, Jabir, good job. We're saying B. Is everyone saying B, or should we? Okay, we're finally agreeing. I think we are catching up now with the questions. So B, B, B. Yes, it is B. So erythropoietin, why does it increase the risk of cardiovascular complication? I'm looking for a certain keyword. So you're taking more erythropoietin, what happens to your blood? Okay, clotting. What other words? Polycythemia, yes. Exactly, viscosity. The blood becomes more, the increase in viscosity, which increases these risks. MashaAllah, everyone. Yeah, increased hematocrit, viscous, increased hematocrit, polycythemia, stroke, clotting. Yes, perfect. MashaAllah عليكم guys. مش مأثر عليك الصيام ما شاء الله يعني you're focused الحمد لله. Okay, a man is diagnosed with parasitic worm infection. Which characteristic best describes the predominant white blood cells in his blood? B. We're saying B. Okay. And I'm sure that you guys already know this information much better than I do. من كنت معتوها in biolab and in the biotheory. But I thought it was important to mention at least one question. So B. Bilobed, yes. Inshallah. Good job, guys. It is B. Anyone has any other choices before we move on to the explanation? But I think everyone is agreeing on B. Guys, if you have any problems, you don't understand why the majority chose B and you're stuck in another option, do let me know. That's the purpose of the session. Or if you don't feel comfortable in the session itself, just jot down the question or screenshot it and you can just send it to me later on so we can discuss it together. Okay? So everyone's saying B. Is that the right answer? It is B. So personally, for me, I found it helpful to memorize the blood cells or the white blood cells in pictures. And they said that eosinophils, they look like earmuffs. And earmuffs, they have two lobes, right? So it's bilobed, right? So that's why it's eosinophils in this case scenario. So we have bilobed nuclei with granules containing cytotoxic enzymes. What is the color of eosinophils that we would What's the primary color of eosinophils? Red, exactly. And what is the primary color of basophils? Yes, perfect. Yes, I think we can move on to the next question. And here is the explanation for those who want to just read it at your own pace. You can read it later, okay? So, a 50-year-old patient presents with fatigue, night sweats, and weight loss. Blood tests show a marked increase in white blood cells with a peripheral smear showing an increased number of immature cells. The bone marrow biopsy reveals a predominance of blast cells. What is the most likely diagnosis? So if you guys get this right, this was so debatable at the time. We used to like have debates about this concept, but if you get it right, I'm going to be so proud. But it seems that we're all agreeing on one option. I'm going to give you guys a moment. Well, it isn't hard. I don't want to make it sound like it's hard, but yeah, because a lot of people had different ideas of how it's supposed to be answered. Okay, some are saying A, some are saying B. I think it's a tie between A and B, right? Okay, let's break it down. What some are saying, because it says some are saying the word chronic exactly. So why are we saying it's chronic and not acute before we go on to the right option? Why are we saying it's chronic? What are we looking at? Old age, old person. So على طول, C and D are not at all. We don't have anything to do with C and D. We are left with A and B. So we're having a problem picking, is it myeloid or is it lymphocytic? Why, those who said it's myeloid, why are you saying it's myeloid and not lymphocytic? And those who are saying lymphocytic, why are you saying it's lymphocytic and not myeloid? Try to like explain it. Okay, some are saying it's because the keyword blast, it's myeloid. Who else? Those who want to defend why it's lymphocytic. Okay. Yes, so we have myeloid stem cells become myeloblasts. Perfect. Okay, so it is A. Those who picked B, do you understand why it is A and not B? No. Okay, perfect. It's okay. We can explain together. The keyword here in this question is the predominance of blast cells. And do you understand it's why it's chronic and not acute? صح? We're left with why it's myeloid and not lymphocytic. In the book, let me just quickly bring out the book, actually, and show you guys where exactly it says Ahsan. So all the confusions are spared. Just quickly go to this, yeah. So in the book, if you guys want to go to page, okay, let me just share the stop instead, yeah. Guys, can you see the screen of the book? L. Can you see the, am I sharing the right screen? Okay, perfect. So as you can see here, in lymphocytic leukemia, it involves lymphocytes, right? That's all they said. So lymphocytes, and it means lymphocytes we're talking about when they differentiated, or basically just lymphocytes. And in myeloid leukemia, they're saying it involves myeloblast descendants. And if we go there, so myeloblast descendants here, these are all, and these are blasts. These are, and in the case of lymphocytes, it's already differentiated, so they're not blasts anymore. Does that make sense? So again, lymphocytic, it involves lymphocytes. Myeloid leukemia, it involves blasts or myeloblasts. They're not differentiated. All the descendants of myeloblasts and the myeloblasts. If we have any problem with the descendants of the myeloblasts and the blasts themselves, we're talking about myeloid leukemia. Again, the age indicates whether it's acute or chronic. So if it's a young child, then it's acute. If it's an old person, then it's chronic. Does that make sense? Does anyone still have any doubts about this point? Okay, let's move on to the next question then. Okay, platelet-derived growth factor, PDGF, is essential for wound healing and stabilizing blood clots. A deficiency in PDGF during the clotting process would most likely result in Okay, some are saying A. Okay, this is an easy question. Yeah, everyone's saying A. Perfect. Let's just move on quickly to the next question. It is A. Good job for everyone who picked A. If you have any problem with it, I don't think anyone chose anything other than A, so I'm guessing everyone is good with this. Okay, so we're gonna have a quick round. Just guys, don't even scan, don't worry about it. Just jot down the proteins they're gonna be asking you about. So it's a fire round. So what protein maintains the biconcave structure of RBCs? Siga. Spectrin. Anyone has any other options, any other choices? Spectrin, spectrin, perfect. Next question. This is a fire round, so bear with me, it's gonna be a bit quick. Which protein contribute to osmotic pressure? Albumin, perfect. Okay, next question. Which protein acts as antibodies during immune response? Gamma, immunoglobulin. Perfect. Good job, guys. Which protein? I forgot what it says here. Which protein? Okay, list a protein produced by plasma cells. Hello, speed round. First person. Gamma, again, perfect. Yes. Okay, what's this question? Okay. Which protein, when activated, contributes to blood clot? Fibrinogen, perfect. Any other answers? Fibrinogen, perfect. So yeah, fibrinogen, because the question was when activated, so it's not activated yet. That's why fibrinogen is the more accurate answer, although your answer is right, but the more accurate answer is fibrinogen, right? So I have all the answers. Okay, someone already answered in the QR code, perfect. So here are the answers if you want to go back to it. I made a tiny summary. The handwriting is not perfect, but if you want to refer back to it, feel free to do so. Okay, true or false? Is the number of erythrocytes that control the production of EPO, is it the number of erythrocytes or are there any other factors? False, false. What is it if it's not the number? Yes, perfect. Next question. When O2 is sufficient, no erythropoietin is present in the blood. True or false? False, exactly. It's always present at small amounts, right? Okay. Urobilinogen is synthesized in the intestines. True or false? True, true, perfect. Okay. So these questions, I'm going to leave it for you guys to read back again. I think some of you guys might be wondering why in some questions it's eosinophils and not basophils. Always keep this in mind. Eosinophils, they stop. Basophils, they cause. So if there's any reaction that happens in the body, it's either caused by eosinophils, and the basophils go to that side to stop it, not to cause it. In the case of allergic reactions or parasitic worm infections, eosinophils, they cause, they stop this, they stop the parasitic worm from invading or doing any harmful things to your body, but the basophils, they cause the reaction. If you guys have any questions about this, we can discuss it later. You guys can play this small thing, or this is one way that you can memorize also the difference in them. Go back to it whenever you can when I send you the PowerPoint later on. And here are little summaries that I personally wrote to look at before the exam, because it was very inconvenient for me to keep opening the book. So if you guys want to go through them, here's the things about how white blood cells go enter and leave the area where they attack the foreign things or stuff. You can go through it. If you guys want me to send my notes for this chapter, just text me and let me know. And my part here is done, inshallah. Do you need to know the numbers? And I personally, I memorized them, but I remember the doctor told us we didn't need to know it. So if it's the same thing for you guys this year, and you're not required to do so, don't waste your time on them. But again, confirm with your colleagues who've asked the doctor, okay? Okay. So, Anna, my part here is done. Again, look at these summaries when I send them, and inshallah, you guys found benefit in these questions. And I tackled the main points that most people have problems with. Inshallah, you guys found benefit in that. Okay? Uh, you're welcome, guys.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Obaida, and I'll be doing the revision for the endocrine chapter. So if you guys have any questions at any time, you could stop me to ask. Malak, I cannot control the PowerPoint. So you either stop
Would you like
presenting.
to share it yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
You guys see it? Okay, so first I'm going to start with some MCQ questions. An 18-year-old patient presents with low FSH levels. Increase of which of the following hormones could cause this? Is it testosterone, gonadotropin inhibiting hormone, progesterone, or prolactin inhibiting hormone? So the correct answer is testosterone. It's not gonadotropin inhibiting hormone. It's the PowerPoint is a bit slow, just bear with me. So it's here in follicle stimulating hormone. It's inhibited by feedback inhibition, exerted by inhibin, estrogens, and testosterones. That's why both progesterone and gonadotropin inhibiting hormone, they're not mentioned here at all for follicle stimulating hormone. So next we have a 12-year-old patient presents with moon face, buffalo hump, hyperglycemia, muscle weakness, and increased ACTH levels due to an ACTH releasing adenoma. What is the disease? Okay, so you guys have to really read the questions carefully and also read the book carefully, because they also got us a question similar to this last year and we all got it wrong. It's actually none of the above. A few of them got them right. The reason is when it's caused by an ACTH releasing pituitary tumor, in this case an adenoma, it's called Cushing's disease and not Cushing's syndrome. Okay, next, a 12-year-old patient presents with excessive height, enlarged hands and feet, and delayed epiphyseal plate closure. Which of the following is most likely the cause of his condition? So yes, some of you got them right. It is just gigantism, which is hypersecretion of growth hormone before puberty. And you can tell because it's before puberty due to two things. First of all, his height is growing, so he has excessive height. The second thing is that his epiphyseal plates do not close, which are the growth plates that you have on the ends of your bones. And as you can see here, it's gigantism in children and acromegaly in adults. Acromegaly, if it just said he had large hands and feet, it didn't mention anything about the height or the epiphyseal plates. Okay, now we have a few response questions. I'd recommend just answering them in chat, or if you want, you can also answer them through the QR code, but on chat is faster since we're running a bit slow. So what is the direct mechanism of action of growth hormone? Yes, exactly. It is the metabolic actions of the growth hormone, breakdown of lipids, increase amino acids, all of that. Now, next question. It's just tricky with words. Which hormone is considered an antagonistic hormone of hormone released from the parafollicular cells of the thyroid gland? Yes, most of you did well. It's the parathyroid hormone. Okay, what is the mechanism of the direct stimulation of aldosterone release? Yes, it is high potassium. High potassium is what directly stimulates aldosterone release. There's a diagram in the book. I think it's figure 16.4. You can check it out to see like what's the direct effect and what initiates a cascade. Okay, what causes acetone breath? This one is pretty simple. Yes, diabetes mellitus. Or more specifically, fatty acid metabolism, which causes ketone bodies. Okay, now I have a few true and false questions, and that would be it. So, if anyone would like to answer. So the first one is the posterior pituitary produces and secretes oxytocin, an antidiuretic hormone, independent of the hypothalamus. Yes, it's false. Correct. True or false, unlike steroid hormones, thyroid hormones act through second messengers because they are derived from amino acids and cannot cross the plasma membrane. Yes, it's also false. And then the last one, the antidiuretic hormone is strictly stimulated by hormonal stimulus. Yes, also false. Does anyone know the other stimulus that stimulates the ADH hormone? Yes. Okay. Now, if any of you have any questions about the presentation or any questions in general that you have struggled with, you can stay in the meeting and ask them. Otherwise, we are done. And I wish you a delicious iftar.
Okay, guys, and I'll close the recording for now. Okay. Feel free to